Bad Tour, Paris, September 28, 1988. During Smooth Criminal, Michael Jackson threw his hat in the air but failed to catch it. The hat fell behind the stage and the choreography stopped. Stay until the end, because what Michael did 4 years later is something nobody talks about. Parc des Princes Stadium. 72,000 people. The show started at 7:30 p.m. Michael walked on stage in his white suit, black hat and glove. Then came Smooth Criminal. Michael removed his hat, threw it in the air. He'd done it thousands of times. But the hat flew at the wrong angle. Michael's hand cut through empty space. The hat grazed past his fingertips and spun toward the back of the stage. A murmur spread through the audience. The music was still playing, but the choreography was broken. Michael stopped, his head turned toward where the hat went. Dark, not visible. Lead dancer Jennifer Holliday didn't know what to do. Michael kept singing but walked toward the back. Spotlights followed him. But wait. This wasn't just about a hat. The hat was part of Michael's balance. Without it, the 45-degree lean was impossible. Michael reached the back. Searched, 5 seconds. Couldn't find it. Turned around. 72,000 people watching. He was just standing there, empty hands. Then he smiled. A side smile, slight, shy, real, vulnerable. A wave of laughter rose through the audience. Tour manager Frank DeLeo raised his radio. "Do we have a backup hat?" "No." Then Michael started dancing. Without the hat, without choreography, just improvising. Foot slides, hand movements, spins. Jennifer joined him. The other dancers followed. Unplanned movements, saving the show. Front rows stood up. They were watching Michael Jackson improvise, raw, real. And the most interesting part hasn't even come yet. A crew member ran from the right. He had the hat, handed it to Michael. Michael took it, put it on, then returned to the original choreography, the 45-degree lean, the gun motion. But something had changed. The audience had seen Michael Jackson be imperfect, without panicking, just dancing. Smooth Criminal ended. The stadium exploded. Standing ovation. They'd witnessed a human being. Michael walked off stage, went to DeLeo, removed the hat. "This won't happen again. It was an accident." Michael shook his head. "I'm Michael Jackson. These things don't happen." Jennifer approached. "Michael, that was amazing. There shouldn't have been improvisation. Losing control is unacceptable." Michael walked to his dressing room, closed the door. DeLeo knocked. "Are you okay?" Michael let him in, sat down. "I lost my hat, in front of 72,000 people. I lost control. The audience loved it. They saw you were human. I'm not on stage to be human. I'm on stage to be perfect." "When you dropped the hat, did you run?" Michael didn't answer. "No. You danced, you improvised, and they loved it." Michael walked to the window. "Frank, when the hat fell, my first thought was to run, leave the stage, never come out, because I couldn't accept the mistake." "Stop. Because what Michael's about to say explains everything." But then I realized something. The audience didn't stop watching. They waited. They were curious. They weren't there to see perfection. They were there to see me, the human. DeLeo smiled. "That's why they applauded. But it won't happen again. I won't lose control again." DeLeo left. The next day, Michael rehearsed the hat toss 17 times, each one perfect. Jennifer watched. "Michael, that's enough. It has to be perfect. Every time. No exceptions." The second night in Paris came. Michael threw his hat, caught it. Perfect. But after the show, Jennifer said something to DeLeo. "Tonight was technically better. But something was missing. Last night, Michael seemed human. Tonight he seemed like a robot. Last night was real. Tonight, there was a wall. Dilio said nothing. Jennifer was right. The bad tour continued. 123 more concerts, each flawless. No mistakes, no improvisation. But Paris changed something. Michael decided he would never lose control again. Years later, for the dangerous tour, Michael implemented a new rule. Every accessory checked 3 times. Hat, glove, microphone, costume. No exceptions. The crew named this the Paris Protocol. But here's what nobody understood. Michael never forgot that mistake. The moment they saw he was human, and a part of him missed that moment. Because in that moment, Michael was truly free. But freedom was the enemy of control, so he buried that moment. 3 weeks later, October 19th, 1988, Wembley Stadium. The night before the concert, Michael called a private meeting with his entire stage crew, 23 people in a rehearsal room. No press, no cameras, just Michael and the people who made his shows possible. He stood in front of them, still wearing street clothes, black jacket, white t-shirt, fedora pulled low. His voice was quiet when he spoke. "I want to talk about Paris." The room went silent. Everyone knew what he meant. The hat, the mistake, the improvisation. They'd all been there. Some in the wings, some backstage, some watching monitors. Michael continued. "That night something happened that I never wanted to happen. I lost control. And for 2 minutes I didn't know what to do. I improvised. I made it up. And the audience loved it." He paused, looked around the room, made eye contact with each person. "But I hated it." Jennifer Holliday was sitting in the back. She straightened up. This was the first time Michael had spoken about Paris publicly, even in this private setting. "I hated it," Michael repeated. "Because it showed me something I've been running for my entire life, that I'm not in control, that things can go wrong, that perfection is impossible, and I can't accept that." Frank DeLeo shifted in his seat. He wanted to say something, but Michael raised his hand. "Let me finish. What I'm about to say is important. Every single person in this room has a job. Your job is to make sure nothing goes wrong. Check everything. Test everything. Prepare for everything. Because I can't handle surprises. I can't handle mistakes. My entire life, since I was 5 years old, I've been told I have to be perfect, and I believed it. I still believe it." The equipment manager who'd been responsible for the hat looked down at his hands. Michael noticed. "This isn't about blame," Michael said, looking directly at him. "This is about understanding. I need you to understand that when something goes wrong on stage, it's not just embarrassing. It's not just unprofessional. For me, it feels like dying. Like everything I've built is collapsing. Like the whole world is watching me fail." A lighting technician named Robert Chen raised his hand. Michael nodded at him. "Michael, with respect, the audience in Paris didn't see failure. They saw humanity. They connected with you more in those 2 minutes than in any perfect performance." Michael's jaw tightened. "I know, that's what scares me." The room absorbed those words. Jennifer understood immediately. Robert looked confused. DeLeo closed his eyes. "I don't want people to connect with my humanity," Michael explained. "I want them to connect with my art, my performance, my perfection. Because if they see me as human, they'll see all the flaws, all the insecurity, all the fear, and I can't let that happen." But here's what nobody in that room knew at the time. Michael had been seeing a performance psychologist named Dr. Sarah Morrison since 1986. Nobody knew. Not his family, not his band, not even DeLeo. Michael paid her in cash, met her in hotel rooms, always at night, always in secret. Dr. Morrison had been working with Olympic athletes and Broadway performers for 15 years. She specialized in performance anxiety and perfectionism. Michael had found her through a dancer who'd worked with her after a career-ending injury. 3 days after the Paris incident, Michael called Dr. Morrison. It was 2:47 a.m. Paris time. She was in New York. She answered on the second ring. "Michael, I need to talk." They talked for 93 minutes. Michael described what happened. The hat, the freeze, the improvisation, the audience's reaction, his feelings afterward. Dr. Morrison listened, then asked one question. "What were you afraid would happen if you didn't catch the hat?" Michael thought for a long time. That they would see I'm not perfect. "And what happened when they saw that? They loved me more." "And that scares you?" Silence. Then yes. Dr. Morrison made notes. She'd been working with Michael for 2 years. She understood his psychology. The childhood performing, the pressure, the perfectionism, the constant need to prove himself. But this was new. This was Michael being afraid of being loved for who he was rather than what he did. "Michael, let me ask you something else. When you were improvising, how did you feel?" "Terrified." "Anything else?" Michael didn't answer immediately. Then very quietly, "Free." Dr. Morrison leaned forward in her chair even though Michael couldn't see her. "Say that again." "I felt free. For 2 minutes, I wasn't following a plan. I wasn't executing choreography. I was just dancing, responding, being present. And it felt... How did it feel? Like when I was a kid, before everything became about perfection, when dancing was just joy." Dr. Morrison wrote that down, underlined it twice. "And you don't want to feel that again?" "I can't afford to feel that again. Joy without control is dangerous. It makes you vulnerable. It makes you weak." Over the next 3 weeks, Michael and Dr. Morrison had 7 more sessions, each one circling the same issue. Michael's fear of vulnerability, his equation of control with safety, his belief that if he wasn't perfect, he wasn't valuable. In their last session before the London shows, Dr. Morrison said something that Michael never forgot. "You know what the saddest thing is, Michael? You gave 72,000 people in Paris the gift of seeing you as human. You gave them connection, authenticity, a moment they'll remember forever. But you can't give that gift to yourself. You can't allow yourself to be human, even in private, even alone. You're performing perfection even when nobody's watching." Michael didn't respond. The session ended. They never spoke about Paris again. But something Dr. Morrison said stuck with him. "You're performing even when nobody's watching." It was true. Michael realized he couldn't turn it off. The perfectionism, the control, the constant monitoring of every movement, every word, every expression, even in his hotel room. Alone, he was performing normalcy, performing confidence, performing control. The London shows came and went. Flawless. Every hat toss perfect. Every move precise. The audience loved it. Critics raved. Michael felt nothing. After the final London show, Jennifer found him sitting alone in the empty stadium. It was past midnight. Security had left. Crew was packing up. Michael was just sitting in the front row, looking at the empty stage. "You okay?" she asked. Michael didn't turn around. "Do you remember Paris?" "Of course." "Do you remember how it felt? The improvisation?" Jennifer sat down next to him. "It felt alive, dangerous, real." "I miss it," Michael said quietly. "I miss feeling that way, but I can't go back to it, because if I let go of control once, I'll never get it back, and without control, I'm nothing." Jennifer wanted to tell him that wasn't true, that he was Michael Jackson with or without control, that his talent was innate, not manufactured, but she could see in his eyes that he wouldn't believe her. So she just sat there, in silence, next to a man who had everything the world could offer, but couldn't give himself permission to be imperfect. Years passed. The Dangerous Tour. The History Tour. Each one more controlled than the last, more rehearsed, more precise. Michael's performances became mechanical miracles, perfect in every way, and completely empty of the spontaneity that made Paris special. In 1997, a fan posted on an early internet forum, "Does anyone else feel like Michael's performances are too perfect now, like there's no life in them anymore?" The post got 847 responses. Most agreed. Some defended him. But the sentiment was there. Something had changed. The perfection had become a prison. Michael never read that forum post, but he felt it. He knew. Every time he stepped on stage, he felt the distance between himself and the audience. The wall he'd built to protect himself from vulnerability had also cut him off from connection. On his 40th birthday, August 29, 1998, Michael watched the Paris concert footage. It was the only recording that existed. A bootleg, poor quality, shaky camera. But you could see it clearly, the hat falling, the moment of panic, the improvisation, the smile, the humanity. Michael watched it alone in his home theater, watched himself be imperfect, watched himself be real. Watched 72,000 people love him not, despite the mistake, but because of it. And he cried. Not because he was sad, but because he finally understood what he'd lost. Not control, not perfection, but permission. Permission to be human, permission to fail, permission to be loved, not for what he could do, but for who he was. But it was too late. The pattern was set. The wall was built. Michael Jackson, the most famous performer in the world, had become a prisoner of his own perfection. September 28, 1988, Paris. A hat fell, and Michael Jackson made a choice. Control over freedom, perfection over humanity, performance over presence. And he never forgave himself for making the right choice feel so wrong.